Right now, foreign policy in the spotlight. Things getting hot on the Hill today as members of Congress held a hearing trying to figure out what happened during that deadly attack in Benghazi last month. We have the very latest from D.C. And next, another abortion flip-flop. Romney sort of backtracked on his pro-life stance again today. Can you say Etch-a-Sketch? And later, why is the American public flip-flopping so often and so quickly throughout the entire process? I'm not just talking the last couple of weeks, but take a week ago. Politicos were writing Romney's campaign obit. Now he's again the golden child. What a difference a week can make here, and what does it say about the process of picking our presidents today? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us this Wednesday evening, October 10th. Now, if you thought the 2012 campaign was going to be a dud, lacking some of the vibe, excitement you got in 08, obviously you were wrong. It is nail-biting time in the race for the White House, and tonight it's anybody's guess here who wins or loses. We've got 27 days till the candidates, figure out who's the winner and who's the loser here, and only one day till the next big campaign event, that the VP debate. All right, now for the latest numbers, and they confirm what everybody's been thinking, the race once again is tight as everybody said it would have been months ago, and it might be getting even tighter. Let's bring in Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Andrew, we're looking at these numbers here, and it was all the overall, but now you're getting swing state numbers. This thing really could be a toss-up here in literally less than 4 weeks.
It is, Rich, and we hit a landmark moment in the polls this morning. For the first time in a full calendar year since October of 2011, there's a new leader in the poll averages. Mitt Romney jumping out to a 1-point lead in the latest average from Real Clear Politics. And the president's lead has also shrunk in the electoral vote as Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire move from Obama's column to toss-ups. Excuse me, those state changes based more on the national numbers than on individual state polling. New polls today, including Ohio, Obama still up 4 as the Buckeye State is relabeled a toss-up. Florida also a toss-up, Obama up 4 there. Wisconsin again a toss-up tonight, Obama up 2. New Hampshire another new toss-up tied at 48, and Pennsylvania, Obama up 5, still relabeled today a toss-up state by Real Clear Politics. Rich?
All right, Andrew, thank you. Now, the other big political news of the day came not from the battleground states, but from Capitol Hill, where the House Oversight Committee held a hearing to try and figure out what happened during the attacks on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi last month. As you know, members of the House here, they've been pushing the State Department for details, but it appears there were more questions than answers today, like how exactly the attack began and if there was enough security at the consulate.
Were any of the reports saying there was a protest?
There were reports.
There were reports coming out of Benghazi that there were protests that day.
There were reports that we received saying that there were protests, and I will not go any farther than that. And then things evolved, period.
The security in Benghazi was a struggle and remained a struggle throughout my time there. The situation remained uncertain, and reports from some Libyans indicated it was getting worse. Diplomatic security remained weak.
Now, the consulate attack, it left 4 dead, including U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens. In a twist of fate, some of the very same Republican congressmen pushing for answers at today's hearing also vote to cut security spending for the State Department and its embassies. Now, State Department officials, they've finally admitted here that the assault in Benghazi, nothing to do with that anti-Muslim film, but in fact an unprecedented attack. Now, foreign policy expected to come up again and again here for the balance of the campaign season, including during tomorrow's VP debate and then during the foreign policy debate on the 22nd. And so far, Romney's foreign policy has been a little muddled. This after a foreign policy speech on Monday where the former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright remarked that the speech was, quote, full of platitudes and light on specifics. All right, with all that, I want to get into what we heard today and what we think we're going to hear going forward on foreign policy stuff. And guys, let's start off with what we learned or didn't learn on Capitol Hill today. And Andrew, I got to tell you, Susan Rice said this was the film. It was the film, and she went on the Sunday talk shows, immediately laughed and said that's what sparked it, and the kind of thing took on a life of its own. Today we learned nothing to do with the film at all. This had to do with a planned attack. Now, how much intelligence told us that the attack was coming or not, suffice to say, we didn't have enough security there, and we didn't get the full story when this first happened. Do you chalk this up to just fluid intelligence, that we got the wrong story, or do you think they try to cover their you-know-whats here when the story first broke?
I mean, my gut says that it's fluid intelligence because you had everything coming out of the White House up until Rice speaking when they said that it was related to the terrorist video. You even had President Obama making remarks similar to that. Rice said it later than anybody else in the White House was saying it, but my guess is that it was fluid information that was coming out of Libya. I suspect Tom's going to disagree with me.
Well, let me bring in our panel. Tom Doherty, who everybody saw yesterday, Republican strategist, former advisor to Governor George Pataki, partner in Mercury, and Dominic Carter by his side here, political journalist and author. And Tom, how about it from your side? You heard what happened today. Obviously, there was a press conference, one of the first ones we had in a couple of weeks here. They said, in effect, this is a tragedy, but we didn't see it coming, and moreover, we didn't intend to deceive here. The facts came out.
They didn't intend to deceive. This is laughable. This is actually an outright lie. You have, first of all, security officers on the ground who have begged for more support there. Two, you've had recently an attack on that same location where they blew out a wall.
Now,
Number three, you had a Facebook post.
I'll let you finish your points, but the one thing that we're still unclear of is nobody debates anymore. This had nothing to do with the stupid movie, all right? This was a planned attack. However, Tom, there still is confusion. In the late ambassador's diary, he talked about real security concerns, okay? But we don't know yet with any clarity that there was formal requests for additional security that were turned down. So we're still getting the whole picture as to who said what. I mean, you can't imagine the State Department said, you're on your own.
First of all, that's not what people testified to today on the Hill, because I listened to a lot of the testimony today. They did ask for additional assistance, and it was said that we cannot provide it. But more importantly, there was an attack on this location recently where they blew out a wall to sort of evaluate our response. Following that, there was a Facebook posting that said, we are going to get your ambassador and we're going to attack this facility. Nothing happened in response to that. Then they go and provide an attack with missile launchers, handheld rocket grenades, etc. And the White House has the nerve to tell the American people, oh, this is in response to some mob getting together. Richard, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, an ambassador died. That brings us as Americans together. The bottom line is, how can anybody with a straight face say a mob got together with a bunch of missile launchers? Every security person around the world said, including the people from Libya said, this is a terror attack.
The only reason, it's a huge problem. Okay, I'm not
But why
minimizing
would they
this,
lie
but I'm only
about
saying,
it, though?
But that's my point is, I think
Because
you're
they
making my
didn't
point.
want to say
Do you
we were
really
attacked.
think that the White House
Yes.
thought, see, I'm of the greater thought, and I'm surprised, having worked in government, 3 people can't keep a secret. So the idea that this somehow was going to be covered up.
Spin all the time. Listen, I don't think it works very well for the president, but I think at the end we're Americans, and I think that we rally around presidents at times when we're under attack. I think he would have been much better off to say, we just today faced a terror attack abroad.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't do that.
I think we're going to see how this plays out. You know for a fact this will come up tomorrow night at the VP debate, obviously, and this will also come up, in foreign policy in one of the remaining presidential debates, but I also assume in the town hall this might come up also at the hostile presidential debate, as it should. But my question is, there will be a point where people will say, consider the source when it comes to Mitt Romney. If you look at his positions that he's taken, including the day after the Benghazi attack, where he was savaged with criticism from not just the left, but also the right for, as you say, we're all Americans, Tom?
Where was that rallying on the president?
Where was that? Politics stop at the nation's shore.
No rallying, because the president didn't tell the truth. And what did Mitt Romney say that was wrong?
But wait.
I'd like to know what Mitt Romney said that was wrong.
You said Mr. Romney's positions,
Yeah.
correct? Plural.
Yes.
I just want to, when he does give us a position. I just want to make sure I'm
What
clear on
position
this.
do you want him to take?
No, I mean, it would be nice if we found out what some of his
Like what?
positions on. Listen, on this situation with the ambassador, I'm in your corner. It's not good for the White House. You don't want this type of situation lingering out there, counting down to the election. But at the same time, Mr. Romney has said nothing as far as foreign policy.
Did you watch 60 Minutes?
What
Did you
he
watch
would
60
do?
Minutes?
What he would do differently?
He laid out a 5-point plan on how he would handle these type of situations on 60 Minutes.
I guess when the ambassador referred to it.
Tom, maybe you can, without being a wise guy, explain to me how he's going to stop Iran from getting a nuke. What is our bright line, and what will the U.S. involvement be? Because he says he'll stop them. He didn't tell me how.
Listen.
No, just tell me.
He doesn't tell you how and anything. He just says, here's Romney's line. And it's working. Here's Romney's line.
I think, as he said, I take nothing off the table.
Trust me.
I think he said that.
And the day after the election, I'll start telling you what my positions are.
Dominic, what president tells their adversaries in a national debate?
Almost every major candidate that's running for office
tells a country like Iran, here's what I'm going to do if I become president?
No. I'm not going that far.
That's stupid.
I'm not going that far, Tom. But I am saying this much: this guy is running a rope-a-dope on Americans. He's not telling us any. It's an okie-doke too. He's not telling us anything, and it may work. Simply because of the soft,
to the president who just lied to us about a terror attack?
Simply because of the soft. I'm not going to say that the president of the United States lied.
He said it was about a video.
Should we say that President Bush lied about? Should we say President Bush lied about Iraq?
Well, Bush is done. We've heard about it.
By the way, Romney on Iran this week, speaking at the Virginia Military Academy, says we need to increase our sanctions and not take the potential for military action off the table.
Right.
President Obama, by the way, has ratcheted up sanctions against Iran and has not taken military action off the table. Where's the difference exactly?
Then they have no difference on Iran.
Yes,
but
Romney
but
keeps
here's my
bashing
point.
the president
Romney
for saying
says,
he's not doing it.
help me out with this thing, because I think the electorate would also like to know. I'm not going to lead from behind anymore. That was the line we kept hearing from Romney in contrast to the president. What does that mean when we're talking about Syria, when we're talking about Libya, when we're talking about Iran? Does it mean that leading from the front and shaping the Middle East was his words? Is that translation to we're going to put more boots on the ground there because we're going to dictate Mideast policy? Has that really worked for us? I don't know what he means. Maybe it'll come out in the debates. But what do you think the public wants to hear? Because I don't think they want to hear any more American involvement in the Middle East.
What I think it means is that you can't just let the world go by, and whether it means that there are going to be ties to us giving Egypt $1 billion, or Andrew would know the number better than me, $2 billion a year, whatever the case is, right. And then just letting them watch, as they, have radical Islam take over their government, et cetera, and then when we're attacked, let them say, oh, it's all your fault. I mean, I think that the thing is that I don't think we're taken very seriously around the world much anymore. Certainly not in the Mideast. I mean, we're Libya, where we have the problem in Egypt that we have now. Syria is burning, et cetera.
Let's say your instinct is right. We don't even have to debate that.
Right.
What does that mean from a policy? Because at the end, the American voter has
Stop
to
giving
say,
money. I would just say, listen, no more foreign aid to you guys. I mean, that's what I would say. I would say, if you're not going to be supportive of us, then we're not supportive of you anymore.
Doesn't that just guarantee that these countries are going to fall into chaos and probably turn over into an Islamic extremist?
Andrew,
absolutely not. Egypt has an elected government and is actually
radical extremists right now.
No, they're not as radical as you'd like everybody to think that they are. They're actually working to try to suppress some of the anti-American and some of the anti-Western.
Anti-American, that's what they're suppressing. They're suppressing anti-American thought. That's great. I don't want to be part of them. Let Egypt do their own little thing. They still now the talks about Israel, etc. Either we support Israel or we don't support Israel. I stand here and support Israel.
What's the difference between Romney's policy calling for greater troops and more pressure on Syria than what Obama did in Libya or Egypt? Because you don't know what the net result of that's going to be. All Romney says is we're going to make sure that the groups that support our way of thinking get our aid. Well, how are you going to figure out who that is?
I just think the public, and hopefully they'll get it through the debates, deserves at least the distinction between the two. We hear the rhetoric here, but what I want to know, and the polls at least say, with as bad as the president's had for the past week, he's still ahead on foreign policy. Give me a distinction between the two. Tell me when the troops come home in two different visions, and also tell me if you're going to lead and you're going to shape the Middle East, what does that mean? If the public likes one more than the other, vote with a clear conscience.
But you know what that means. If you're Mr. Romney, that means I'm not Obama. That's all it means.
Well, you know what?
That's all it means. And I'm not going to.
And I'm not
Let Andrew go. No. You guys.
You're going to bring it up. It's coming.
No, I'm not bringing up the fact that the president is African American. And his hands are tied behind him. I'm not bringing that up. And that he's the first black president, and he's judged unlike any other president in American history. I'm not bringing that up.
And we go to break. Cue the break. When we come back, the other issue on the domestic side was abortion here. And was there another flip-flop by Mitt Romney? We're going to talk about that. And I think Dominic will finish his point in the break. Stay with us.